3 years ago, springtime, May. That night, I discovered a mass, left upper quadrant. A small, tiny voice inside of me said, "You know what this is." Not in a scary way, but in a get ready kind of way. My mind was white knuckling it. My body was tense. My body's been tense for a very long time. You see, 20 years ago, in June of 1998, I held my mother's hand as she passed away from breast cancer. My mass turned out to be triple negative with the side of BRCA1. I can only assume hers was too. For the 20 years after, I have lived with this heightened awareness of breast cancer. I have watched women come across my path in all different ways that have walked this journey. Somehow my mind assimilated all of those experiences, and now that I was the one in the seat, I knew I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to flee. I wanted a third way that included this careful, purposeful pursuit of reconciliation. You see, I didn't believe that the 20 years of life curriculum that I have lived were for nothing. I wanted to disarm cancer while preserving my body for the future I was sure I was going to have. I wanted to use all the tools available. You see, I had my feet firmly planted in two camps. On one side, my mother was a medical doctor, and my education lies in conventional medicine. On the other side, I discovered the world of integrative medicine when my oldest child, then sixth grader, was diagnosed with autism. I have seen both sides. I knew there was something there for me that was going to allow me to go through this process. However, in this journey, all I could do was put one foot in front of the other and trust the journey. Looking back now, I can identify 3 distinct structural buckets where most of my impactful tools ended up. Vision is the top of my recovery triangle. To even begin in this category, I had to do 3 things. I had to mend the visions that were entering my mind, the visions of loss, the visions of suffering that I witnessed. I had to build my own, and then I had to find a way to believe it, to train my brain to say yes to that vision. I started with this. Lena, your story is not your mother's story. We have learned so much about breast cancer in the last 20 years. These were the words of my mother's oncologist. Yes, she's still in medical practice, and my husband and I drove to see her the week after my pathology report came back. After we returned from that trip, I made a decision to take personal responsibility to build my story. Looking far into the future was hard. Anyone who is faced with something that speaks to their mortality knows this. Looking far in is scary. The little voice inside of me asked why. Not why me. It asked why this. And what is this going to do? Who will this serve? I started paying attention to my thoughts, and whenever something entered my mind that didn't align with the vision of what I wanted to see in the future, I gently ushered it out. The wind cannot help a sailboat with no direction. In this category, I built my direction because I needed all the wind I could get. Structure has got to be my favorite part. Of course, in the middle of the journey, there was really no structure that I could see. But looking back now, a pattern emerges. The structure of what I did was informed by the goal that I set throughout my vision. And that was to disarm cancer while supporting my body for the future and the vibrancy I was sure I was going to have. I knew I wanted to use all the tools available to me from conventional and integrative medicine. I went for a double mastectomy right away. 6 rounds of chemo that spanned over the course of 4 months. I had a fasting regimen that I used surrounding each of those chemo treatments that allowed me to keep my energy up, minimize the side effects, and continue with a semblance of normalcy throughout the treatments. I did use supplements. I switched to a vegan diet immediately when I heard the diagnosis. I used a cold cap. I used acupuncture also from the very start. I used exercise. I combined exercising with some of the emotional upkeep that I was doing almost on autopilot. So when I was feeling angry, I went for kickboxing. When I was feeling fearful, I went for yoga because it grounded me. When I was feeling sad, I went for a walk with a carefully chosen playlist of music or an audiobook. The few times that I got to apathy, I made sure that I ended up connecting with something much bigger than me, like the ocean. Standing on the shores of something so vast allowed me to reframe the problems of that day. And as time went on, all of that expanded. It taught me to be this girl, and I couldn't be any more grateful. Support in this recovery triangle ultimately means that I was going to surround myself with what I wanted to see in myself. As a mom, and as someone who was raising a child with a disability diagnosis, it was always easy to see something or someone else that needed me more than I did. I asked a lot of myself without giving anything in return. Sometimes I didn't even notice it, and it was affecting all the things that were important to me. I recognized that my health was foundational to everything else I wanted to do in life. It wasn't being selfish. I had so many people come and surround me in the cancer journey. My friends and family were amazing. The trick was to learn how to receive without the feelings of guilt associated with it. I had to train my mind to receive with nothing but feelings of gratitude and joy. My family and friends were amazing. From my medical team, I was surrounded by world-class experts, each unique in their field, each with their own contribution. This illustrates perfectly this idea that when you can get clear on your why and the goals that you have, the how takes care of itself. I could have never put this team together with my logical brain. None of us are meant to walk alone, especially in this journey.